All right, Going Yard softball fans, you asked and we delivered. Not only can you enjoy listening to interviews with some of the biggest names in softball, but you can now enjoy savings from the hottest softball apparel and merchandise store on the net. We are proud to announce our affiliation with Softball Lifestyle 101. You can now save 10% off of your entire order by entering the promo code GYP10 at checkout. That's shirts, hoodies, book bags, jewelry, and much, much more. Visit softballlifestyle101.com and remember to use the promo code GYP10 at checkout for 10% off, and you can find those links in our show notes in bio. Hey, everybody. On this episode of the Going Yard podcast, we talked to Brianna Cherry. Brianna is originally from Mississippi and went on to play her college ball at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Great interview today. We started out with her high school career. She talked a little bit about how she played slow pitch and didn't really get into fast pitch until later in life, right at high school. Good outfielder, and she actually talks about her heroes, which are unlikely because it was a hero that wasn't a softball or a baseball player. So stick around to listen to that. She talks a lot about maximizing her potential, trusting the process, how she used to study video to make sure that she was on top of her game and got even better. And then she goes in and talks about her professional career and the life of a professional athlete, and also about making her present known and how she teaches that to the kids that she coaches today. And it's a great episode. Make sure you check her out on social media. You can find her on Instagram at BNCherries25. That's BNCHERRIES 25. Enjoy. Hey, Brianna, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited, ready to drop some knowledge about some softball tonight.
Sounds good to me. And before we get started, I have to ask you a question. We just talked to CJ. We had him on for 2 episodes. And what's it like living with that guy?
Oh, my gosh. It's. I mean, I can't even put it in words sometimes. It's definitely never a dull moment here. And it's funny because in the beginning, like, you know, of course, when we first started dating, he told me, he was like, I can't make you any promises about anything, you know, but I can promise you that the one that I can make is that you will never, there will never be a dull moment around me. You'll always laugh, you know, always do something crazy, or you're always probably looking at me like, what the heck are you doing? And I can honestly tell you that he has fulfilled that promise. Like, it's always a fun time with him, always me looking at him like, what are you doing? And I'm telling you, I can also tell you that what you see with CJ, what you experience with him is him 100% of the time, like him all the time. It's no front. It's not fake. It's him all the time.
I could tell he's a very genuine person, and those 2 episodes, yeah. I listened to. I don't always go back and listen to every single episode that we do, just because partially I don't like hearing my own voice, but 2, like you know, usually I was just sitting there for an hour. You know, for him, in his case, it was 2 hours, and I listened to both episodes front to back. I thought it was so great, so much knowledge, and he's just a fun guy. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
definitely.
If you can, Brianna, for people who aren't familiar with you, can you take us back to your high school playing days and some of the successes you had that ultimately led you getting an opportunity to play in college?
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Pebble, Mississippi. It's a very small town in Mississippi. And believe it or not, in high school, I started playing fast pitch my freshman year of high school. Leading up to that, I played slow pitch. That was like the thing back then. I started playing slow pitch, I think when I was about maybe 5 or 6, and was on a tournament team called the Wrecking Crew. And when I tell you, it was like the elite. We were like the elite team of slow pitch, like how fast pitch is right now with travel ball and stuff like that.
Right.
That's how we were with slow pitch. So, I mean, I took it super seriously, thought I was going to go to college to play slow pitch, realized that wasn't the case. And then picked up fast pitch, and I was not the best. I was not the best at hitting, because I had to go from slow pitch to fast pitch, And but as outfielder, like throwing, I loved, like that was my thing. Like being in the outfield, I loved throwing people out. I realized at a very young age that I could throw the ball hard, I could throw it far, and that just kind of became where I reigned in the outfield. And as I developed in high school, I did become a decent hitter. I didn't hit for power. I was more of like a, double, singles, that kind of a hitter. But being able to use that athletic ability to be able to finally join a tournament team or a travel ball team and be able to go to those exposure tournaments and allow college coaches to see what I could offer, that allowed me to be able to have the opportunity to accept the scholarship to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And of course, going there, I did learn, how to hit for power and stuff like that. But definitely going into it, I was super duper, my talent was super raw. And, I didn't really learn the value and the knowledge of the game really until college.
Just to back up, real quick question: who were some of your outfield heroes that you would watch? I mean, whether it was softball or baseball, who were the ones you were always watching?
It's funny. I didn't have any heroes for softball or baseball. Like my hero growing up was Serena Williams, and it's crazy because it's a totally different sport. But I was just in awe of like her build and like her power. And just her passion for her sport. And, that was somebody who I wanted to emulate, regardless of the fact that I played softball and she was, is such a star in tennis. But, just her, like I said, her passion for her sport and just the way that she portrayed herself out there on the court. And, that was somebody who I felt like as I was growing up, that's somebody who I felt like I could see myself in, and she was my role model. So as far as like when it came to passion and performance and power and things like that was somebody who I really, really looked up to.
Gotcha. That's pretty awesome. I have other people in my life too, outside of sports, that I whether it was an actor or something like that, but like you just kind of want to emulate their work ethic and their passion, and
right.
You can apply that to other things like sports. So that's really cool.
Right.
What was the biggest reason for choosing the University of Louisiana at Lafayette?
The biggest reason for me was the community. They have a wonderful, awesome fan base. Go Cajuns, go UL. It was the first time that I'd ever really been far, far away from home. And when I went there, I actually went to UL with my cousin, Marissa Meyer. And, we've done everything together. We've been to school together and all that kind of stuff. So one big thing about us was that we stayed family oriented. And that's what their community provided. I mean, whatever you needed, whether you needed, home cooked meal, because you're, like 300 miles away from home, 400 miles away from home. You need someone to talk to. You need someone to show you around, show you the best places to eat. I mean, honestly, all of it was food related because that's what I grew up on, home cooked meals all the time.
Nothing like Southern hospitality.
Before basketball games, huh?
Nothing like Southern hospitality, that's for sure.
Oh, look, let me tell you, because especially when that's what you grow up on and you leave it, you try to find it wherever you go. And that's definitely what, of course, their softball program was, unlike any other. And, the coach there was respected by not only the community, but, coaches all around the world. And so it was just a perfect fit, I felt, for me. It had the right balance of challenge, the right balance of being able to find myself as far as like what I wanted to do in life and be able to bring out the best in me. And it was just a perfect fit all the way around.
So for you, what was the biggest challenge? Obviously, you said you were raw, coming in. So what was the biggest challenge and adjustment going from high school where you excelled to college where you really had to probably figure yourself out a little bit and learn from the people around you? What was that biggest transition going from one level to the next?
My biggest transition was being a star player in high school. I feel like every every person who, you know, has felt, and not just in sports, but who has been a part of a team of some sort in transitioning from being the number one or number two or that go-to person to being on a team full of those number ones, full of those go-tos. And so my mentality going in was, I'm going to get on this team and I'm going to hit 20 home runs this season because I'm going to come out as a true freshman doing what I was doing in high school, because I felt like that was what I was bringing to the table. You know, he saw me at this exposure tournament. He wanted what I had. So obviously this is what's going to work when I get to school. And so that was my mentality. And going into it, I didn't think I was going to have to fight for a spot. I didn't think that, you know, my coach was going to change my swing, or he was going to try to not change me as a person, but refine me into being able to maximize my entire potential. And so that was my biggest challenge, because I came in with a mindset of, I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to do this with everything that I've built up to at this point. And, you know, I didn't realize that, you know, it's not about, when I come to this organization, it's not about me. It's not about me anymore. It was all me in college. I mean, high school. But once I get to college, it's not about me, because this man, this coach who is at this institution, it's his job to mold these women into possibly professional athletes, maybe, or to mold these women into championship winners. And me coming in saying it's all about me is not going to change that. And so me walking into this college thinking that I was going to do all that, I was sadly mistaken. And I think that's a lot of what girls, you know, and guys as well, they come into a program that they think, oh, it's all about me. I'm going to hit a bunch of home runs and I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it my way. That's not how it works.
Now, you probably just answered this question, but maybe if we look at it from even the technique standpoint, we talk to players every single week that talk about their college experience, and there's always this one thing that every player gained from playing at the collegiate level. What was that one like aha moment, that one thing that changed for you as a, you know, to make you the player that you are today?
What changed for me was trusting the process. I came in, like I said before, thinking that I was going to do it all by myself. And also, too, it was weird because I was coming into a program where my coach had, from what a lot of other coaches looked at, a different style of hitting. And I worked the process to the point where I thought I had it and just went from there. I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm good. Like, I can do this. I can play college softball with what I've learned in this fall season. So now I can do it in the spring. I have it all. And I stopped trusting the process. I stopped doing what was beneficial for me, doing the drill. Like I began to think that these drills, I was finished, you know, like building muscle memory and doing all this. Like I thought that at this point, I would hit a certain point at the end of the fall where I got it. And then I stopped trusting that process. And I started to, it's almost like when you study for a test, you're like, I got it, I'm good. But then, you know, you're like, oh, well, I should have probably studied a little bit more. You just don't keep it, you don't keep it going. You don't keep that study habit going for the next test. Or you don't keep building off of that. And so I basically hit a point where I just kind of like, was like, I got it. This is what I'm going to use to propel me through the rest of my 4 years here at school. And that wasn't the case. And so I stopped trusting the process. And at the end of my freshman year, I had my first exit interview. And my coach told me that. He was like, you know, you got complacent. You became status quo. You started going through the motions because you thought you had it. And so at that point, I was like, wow, I just wasted an entire year because I thought that I knew everything. So at that point, I took it upon myself to reinvest myself into the process of becoming an All-American player and becoming a player that was just more than just athletic ability or natural ability. And I stayed every summer after school or after school was over during the summer, and I stayed. I took extra classes, but during that time I worked out. I went to go hit in the cages. I worked on watching video. Like I did the extra. I went the extra. So I would say that the biggest thing that I did was I reinvested myself in trusting the process, and then I also went the extra mile.
Now, what were some of the hardest places you would go and play at in your schedule? Where was when you looked at the schedule every year and you looked at it like, man, we got to go there and face so and so. Who was that? Where was it?
It was always a rival, not like oh, we got to play this person, but whenever we went, like we just had this like thing with South Alabama was always like a rivalry kind of between us. Definitely, it was always if we had to play like a bigger school. It was always not necessarily from us, but it was kind of like that buzz, like because we were always looked at like the underdog. So, there was like that kind of buzz a little bit, like for instance, like my last game that I played, we played Michigan, and that was a big, huge deal because at that time to us, Michigan is like they're top notch. But then at the same time, we have to look at ourselves and say, heck, obviously we must be top notch to be able to get here.
Yeah.
But a lot of those times when we played maybe the bigger schools, of course, out of our conference, it's always kind of like that. We're playing Alabama or we're playing, Michigan or we're playing Arizona or something like that. So it's just that outlook of, you hear a little bit about them, you hear a little bit of buzz about them, but it's always kind of that situation.
Now, you play professional softball, and can you talk about that experience and how that all came about? Were you drafted right out of college? Was it something where you went to a tryout? Explain that for our listeners who don't know.
Well, I actually was drafted my senior year, and it was a crazy situation. What happened was one of the assistant coaches at the time had asked me, hey, have you ever been interested in, entering into the draft? And at the time, I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, a draft for what? And he was like, for the NPF. And I said, what's the NPF? He said, the National Pro Fastpitch. I was like, there's a professional fast pitch league? So I was like, kind of nervous because I'd never heard of this before. And I was like, what? So I was like, okay, fine. Like, didn't think anything of it. Didn't think anything after. I was like, sure, why not? And so a couple months later, my cousin, she called me and she said, you just got selected. Like, there's like number 13 overall by the Akron Racers. I said, for the who? And, it's so funny because it's funny, but then it's kind of bittersweet because it's like at this point you wish that, it's like there's still people out there who are like, what's the NPF? But at the time I was really like, who is the NPF and what is it? And she was like, you just got selected 13 overall. I was like, what? And so it was awesome, but I actually didn't end up going that year because I just, I thought it was done. I was like, it's just by chance that happened. I want to live a normal life. I want to be a normal person and, go live my life without sports. Well, of course that didn't last long. And, that was my cousin. She actually went to go play for the Chicago Bandits and she was telling me how she was having so much fun. And I was like, man, I'm not done. So I went to go play the next year with them and eventually got released from the Akron Racers and played 2 years with the Dallas Charge. And then now currently I play for the Houston Scrap Yard Dawgs.
Now what's that like? You're the first player we've spoke to who plays for an independent team. The other players we've spoke to are in the NPF, and for those who aren't familiar, who don't even know, the Scrap Yard Dawgs had left the NPF the previous year. So what's that schedule like as an athlete? Does it give the athletes a little more freedom to pursue more things, or is it? Can you explain to us a little bit of the difference and what that experience has been like?
It did give us a little bit more freedom. It also allowed us to kind of relax our bodies a little bit because in a normal NPF schedule, there are a lot of games packed into 3 months. And so it was a very relaxing time a little bit for me because then, you're not playing 3 games back to back to back or 3 or 4 game series every single day. And it allowed a lot of us to be able to kind of appreciate what we were doing. And then also at the time, we were partnered with the women's national team. So we were able to take the game of softball to different venues. And able to meet different people and kind of like spread the word as far as what professional fast pitch softball looks like. And, you know, it's not just the same people playing each other all the time or the same teams and stuff. You know, we're bringing a new caliber of the game to people who don't know. Like I said, when I was coming up and I heard about the NPF, I had no idea what it was. But then when I was introduced to it, it was opened up my eyes to a whole new world, to a whole new platform that you're allotted to. And all these girls and all these walks of life, like looking at you wide-eyed. And you know, I'll say, like, this past season, I had my first super fan. I had no idea I even had a fan. And she was like, "Oh my God, I love you. You're the best. You're my favorite player." And it just it really just opened my eyes to what the opportunities to be able to play, not only for an independent team, but, you know, for the NPF league, that affords you to have these young ladies like looking up to you and, you know, coming to the game saying like, "Oh, I love you. Like, you're the reason why I play. I watch you all the time. And I was watching you when you were playing at UL." And so it's an awesome opportunity and an amazing experience. You know, no matter what league or no matter whether you're an independent team or not.
Now, you talked about the change going from high school into college, and I love asking this question because although we do get similar answers from everybody, there's always something. Everyone's path's a little bit different, and the things that they take from going from collegiate to professional is always a little bit different. But what was that? Right. What was that change? What was the big thing that you noticed when you went and you played with Chicago and Dallas, and now with the Scrap Yard Dawgs? What was that change for you going from college to pro that really was different for you? And it was kind of like whoa, wasn't expecting this. And, you had to change stuff up.
What was different for me was I didn't have these resources it was different. Like, we had the resources that we were able to utilize to be able to get ready for the games and stuff. But I was so used to being able to like really talk to my coach, like my coach who knew me for 4 years. Being able to establish that dialogue with my coach and, just speak the language that we understand together. And so going from that, it really opened my eyes because it's almost like, dang, like I'm on my own. I do remember the drills and things that I did that worked for me, but, also too, the speed is a bit different as well. It's faster. You're playing against people who've been playing, who've been playing overseas, maybe in Japan, or playing for this league for the last 6 or 7 years. So they're way more experienced and knowledgeable, or, more knowledgeable than you ever would have thought. And what you thought about the game in college is totally different than in pro. So it's so many aspects. It's like the game is, even while you're in college, the game is still growing. Like, you're in your little college bubble, but yet the game outside of college is steady growing. So when you get to the pros, you're like, whoa, like it's like you are blindsided because you're like, I didn't know that, or I didn't even realize this, or you want me to do what? Like, it's one of those things. It's just the game continuously grows, and it's something that some people just kind of fall into. But, like me, I was like, cool, NPF, let's see what this is all about. And it's like, whoa, this is not what I expected.
Right. Now, to kind of branch off of that, and I don't think we've asked anybody this question before. Now, with being with the college team, you're around those girls all year long. You're building bonds with them. It's basically team building things because you're with them right. all year long, and then you have a little break in the summer. But you have this ability to form these relationships. Being professional, I mean, right now you're in North Carolina, but your team is scattered all around the United States. So how does that work, and is that difficult to kind of build that team bond and just kind of keep everyone tight?
It's not super hard because even though we're all kind of scattered, we're still in the softball community. And contrary to what people may think, as big as softball is, it's actually pretty small because, you go to exposure tournaments and you're going to see somebody, because there's a lot of people playing NPS who are college coaches or volunteer coaches or, things like that, or have some way, some form or fashion have something to do with softball. And so it's crazy because you may be, I could be coaching for a high school, but then I take my team to, a couple of girls on my team may be on a travel team that I coach in, or I may go to an exposure tournament and I'll see 4 or 5 people I played on the team with. So they're still that way. We stay connected, but it's a lot of the people that I've played, because I've been in the league or been playing professional softball for 5 years now. So within those 5 years, I've either, with the people that I played with on the team, I played against them in college. So that already was an established bond. So either I played against, and, after the games, we caught up together, we met each other and, instantly formed a bond from there. And then it just kept going. Or when I first entered into the league, formed a bond, and then it stayed up from there.
Can you talk, you just said you've been a pro for 5 years. What's been the biggest change since you first got in to where you are currently, with the pro side of softball?
The biggest change? The biggest change for me, I think, is I think the biggest change for me that has changed in the pro league is the support behind what we do. When I came in, there was a huge following. Like, it was brand new, definitely to me. But, there was a huge, you could see it growing. You could see I was like, wow, this is going to be something. I'm saying in my first year, maybe like 4 or 5 years from now, this is going to be something. And I think I feel like, as much support as there is behind college softball, I have seen that there's been a drop off of professional. And, of course, I'm not an expert in that, but an expert in the reason why, but my own personal reason why is just because there's, people are not able to get behind a team and fully support them because, I feel like the structure sometimes it doesn't allow people to be able to really get behind a team and to fully support, because sometimes a team, maybe after 2 years, a team may fold, or, a team may, change into another team, and usually with college teams, you see that, a lot of teams like Alabama or Michigan, they got a hard following behind them, because people every day are converting into a Michigan fan or converting into an Oregon fan or whatever. And, they have that stability to be able to keep that fan base behind them. And so that's what's really hard. And I feel like the change has been in the league. It's just the support, because I feel like, pro softball could be an awesome opportunity, and especially here, you wish that it could be something that you could do for, as a career. But I definitely think that support behind what we do has definitely changed.
Now, you had mentioned that, you may coach a team, a travel team or high school team and take them somewhere. Are you currently coaching right now as well, like in the high school level or travel ball?
Yes. So I recently moved to North Carolina in August 2018. And so I am teaching at a high school. I'm teaching English, teaching 10th graders. And I'm also coaching at the school as well. So I had a little bit of previous experience coaching at the high school level. And so when I got here, they had a softball team, and I was like, I might want to get back into it and, really, really see what I can do and see what kind of hand I can lend to this team. And so, some of the girls that were interested, expressed interest, were in my class. And so it's kind of like I told them, I said, you kind of got a little bit of a target because I'm your teacher also. Because I've expressed to them what kind of person I am when it comes to the game and how competitive I am and things like that. So, I'm excited for the season to come and see what they're going to bring to the table, and definitely excited for them to see me in my element and the sport that I love.
So, Brianna, we have a lot of young players, girls, coaches, moms, dads who listen to the podcast, trying to make their daughters as good as they can, the team's better. What are some of the things that you wish you would have learned as a younger player that could have helped you become, better or more successful earlier on, whether it be, on the field or off the field with training or mental prep or any of the, what would you tell your younger self basically, you know, or for the parent out there to tell their kid to help get them to the next level if they're trying to?
I would tell my younger self, play multiple positions. And you know, a lot of these things that I'm telling, it was because at the time when I was coming up, you know, I had, you know, my mom was a single parent. I had a brother and sister, and me being the oldest. So she wasn't really, when it came to softball, she really wasn't that knowledgeable. Her sport was basketball. So when it came to softball, it was just like, oh, she's good at outfield. Well, let's just keep her doing what she's doing because she's good, and we'll just try to figure it out on the way. But definitely be a multi-position athlete, because I think that makes you a lot more marketable. It does increase your value. Also invest in mental training for your sport. Being able to handle adversity, being able to handle mental toughness, because I learned that in college. And I think it's very important to start that early on. Definitely take advantage of lessons. I can honestly say that I think I took 2 lessons in my entire growing up, and that was pitching because I really wanted to be a pitcher. And
it
so
paid off.
I definitely think investing in lessons, but not just anybody who says like, oh, I get lessons. Like, no, like do your research, you know, look them up, look at some of the things, look at them as a player, and really invest in your child for lessons. Because, and then also to be consistent, because that's one thing that I've seen that a lot of parents, what they do is they go maybe take their child to 2 lessons and they think that, oh, my child, she's going to be, you know, the next Monica Abbott. No, be consistent, you know, and if that's what you want your child to do, if that's what you, if you see that, if your child sees that, like, collaborate and be consistent. And then also at the end of the day, be active with them, you know, because they're going to need that parent, whether it's a single parent or you have both parents, they're going to need you. And whether it, you know, and I know a lot of dads out there, you know, spend a lot of long nights sitting on a bucket, being a backstop or whatever, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, hitting off the tee 100,000 times. Like at the end of the day, it's something that I, you know, look back and I wish I would have had. I wish I would have had that dad to be my backstop, or that, you know, that person. Because a lot of my stuff that I learned growing up was kind of like trial and error, something that I learned. If it wasn't at practice, it was kind of stuff that I just tried to figure out on my own. And that's tough. But definitely if there's little girls that get out there and they have their dad and they have their mom out there, appreciate that and use that.
Well, as a player, you had mentioned about the mental game and preparing yourself mentally. How did you prepare yourself mentally before a game or before an at-bat, or, you know, even if, let's just say you had a bad at-bat and you're going to go back out in the field next inning, how do you prepare yourself for that? And also, how do you teach, or how are you going to be teaching your players coming up this spring?
One thing that I had to learn, because I'm very, very emotional, you know, wear my emotions on my sleeve. You can see it, like I can't hide anything. So one thing that I had to really do was learn to have and it was in college, was to learn how to have a short memory. And because I'm a very big believer in the fact that whatever you do at the plate and however you feel, if you have a bad at bat, it'll carry over into your play on the field. And I say that from personal experience, because there's been times where I've struck out and I'm in the outfield and I'm just, you know, cussing myself out in the outfield. And I'm just like, why did you do that? Why did you swing at that pitch? Why did you do this? And all of a sudden the ball hits me and I'm not ready. So it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter what happens at the plate. You have to have an instant like throw it away, because you don't want to be that person that's the energy sucker who's taking all the energy from the team and you're not saying anything, and you're not helping your team, building your team up. And then after all, everybody has to come to you and pat you on the back and, you know, wake you up and, oh, it's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. Because then you're sucking all the energy from your team. So I say short memory. Also mental toughness is don't be so hard on yourself, because that's going to make it worse. That's one problem that I had. I was very like, I wanted to be the best. I wanted to do it right every time. I wanted to be perfect. But in the end, nobody's perfect. That's why, we play this game. It's trial and error. It's one day, 1 week you're on, and the next week you're off. That's just the way it happens. And so you have to be prepared for things like that. And then lastly, your preparation comes from your mental preparation and being able to handle adversity and all that is being able to have those scenarios played out prior to the game. If you don't go through those situations, like I feel like everybody says that if you haven't played those situations in your head already, then how are you able to prepare how are you going to be prepared when you get in the box? And it's as simple as giving yourself a situation in practice or giving yourself a situation while you're just sitting down, doing your homework or something, saying, it's 2 outs. It's, I'm up to bat. I got one. I'm 1-1. What am I going to do? I got runner on first. Like, things like that, like talking yourself through the game, writing your stuff down. Because of course, if you leave it to memory, you're just going to, you're going to forget it. You try to leave it to memory, you'll forget it. But definitely those 3 things, having a short memory, being prepared before the game, and then also not being hard on yourself.
Now, Brianna, what are some of the questions that you get a lot from younger athletes that reach out to you? I'm sure you get a lot of questions, whether you're at camps or clinics or, even through direct messages or at the field before games. What are some of the biggest questions that you get asked?
Some of the biggest questions is how to get noticed, I guess, by coaches at exposure tournaments. What else? A lot of that before is like, how do you throw so hard? Like, how do I increase arm strength? Things like that. And then, how to build strength, like how to hit for power, like how to be more of a power hitter. Initially, how to get the first one, how to get seen by coaches or to get more attention from coaches. It's all about your presence on the field, what kind of presence that you create on the field. One thing that I've talked to CJ about that he says a lot of times is he says, I forgot how he says it. It's like, make the basic plays look spectacular. Like, yeah, make the spectacular plays look basic and make the basic plays look spectacular. Because, of course, if you're diving all over the place, so like, yeah, you can do that. But I mean, like, can you turn a double play? Do you know how to turn a double play? Like, can you do, like make your presence known? Like, make that, well, like, what is it that you do as a catcher? Like, do you have laser throws, like always on point to the second baseman and this and that? Like, how do you perform under pressure? Like, things like that. And also your attitude. Nobody likes somebody who strikes out and throws their helmet across the dugout. Like, I can honestly say, I'm not boasting by any means, but throughout my entire career, I've never thrown a helmet. Never thrown it, because I'm like, why would you do that? Like, all you're doing is wanting attention. That's it. So good attitude, being able to make the basic plays look great. As far as like arm strength, especially in college and pro, really focused on body strength, really focused on the health of my arms and my shoulders. Make sure I did, definitely arm workouts or arm strengthening workouts and things like that to keep up the health of my arm. As far as that, too, one thing that I say all the time to high school, because I feel like they just, just like I did, will come out there and throw 100 balls and not ice my arm, but I think I'm good for, like, I'll go again the next day, throw 100 balls, go again. No, ice your arm, even if you didn't do anything, because that saved me. To this day, that saves me.
Now, Brianna,
can
can you just talk a little bit about, for the young girls out there who kind of, get wrapped up in social media a little bit maybe, and, it's not always a friendly place out there, but can you just talk about, the conduct of using it and being a part of that world, and even maybe some of the experiences that maybe you've had from it, positively or negatively?
Well, one thing I can say, being an athlete, and definitely being an athlete who has the, would have the opportunity to be on TV or be in a public setting where people know you or have recognized you, it's very important as far as on social media that you conduct yourself in a very respectful manner. Because, I mean, let's say, regardless of if you go to a, D1 school, D2 school, or a community college, whatever, I mean, it's very, I've always prided myself in being respectful on social media, because you never know who's looking, you never know who's watching. And it was always something that was stressed in college, because not only do you represent yourself at college, you're representing your university. So, why would you want to put your university in danger of anything, any sort of, why would you want to attract any type of negativity or anything like that towards you or the university that you represent. And that's been my whole entire life. Of course, there's been times where I'm like, oh, I want to post this funny picture or whatever, but I always have to think twice, because I'm like, I may think it's funny, or other people may think it's funny, but somebody else could take it the wrong way, and then that could shed negative light on me, and then somebody thinks that, well, she posted that, so she thinks this way, or she's this, she says this, or she's whatever. So I've always been very, and I think that also too, just the person I am, regardless if I played a sport, I'd still be very respectful of just me and my character and my integrity on social media, because that's just something personally that I really, really take I really take high regard of.
Now, I want to jump back to this just because I know you had mentioned it when you were talking about after your freshman year in college. You had talked about going, you stayed over the summer, you stayed at school, you were watching video. I'm curious, for, sort of like a coaching aspect here for the girls listening, what did you look at when you were watching video, and what did you learn from it?
My biggest thing from watching video was learning about my body position, because me coming in, I'll say specifically for me, naturally I want to pull my front shoulder out. And the thing is, I may be thinking that I'm doing it right just by doing the drills and stuff, and I think I'm doing it right. But that video component gives me a visual, and then I'm like, oh, I'm seeing my whole front side pull out. And so I'm like, all right, well, and then I also can compare it to maybe like another person's swing who might be doing it correct. And then I can see, okay, this is what I'm doing, but this is what my body should look like, or what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's what that video aspect just gives you, like just a visual to look at and to compare. Like, I know when I was watching video and stuff, like our coach would compare it to, we would always look at like Major League Baseball swings. And one in particular would be Albert Pujols. And we would look at videos of him all the time and like use the, I think at the time the software that we used was like Right 3 Pro or something like that. And he was like, show our swings in slow-mo up against Albert Pujols and be like, this is what your body should look like, and this is what it needs to be, and this is where your hands need to be, and he's not pulling out his front shoulder. So that was a good idea for me, because some people can, you tell them don't pull your front side out and they can do it. But me, I was more of, I need to see it. I need to see what I'm supposed to be doing. I need to see what I'm doing, because I can't really feel it. But maybe if I see it and then I have it on my mind and then I'm doing it, then I can say, oh, okay, this is what I'm feeling, because I know what it looks like. So that's what that video did as far as help with hitting.
Now, here's a topic that I'd like to jump into a little bit with you and think about is, now that softball is back in the Olympics, what you kind of said that, resources and maybe kind of went away from the program. Do you think that coming back, obviously, what does it do for the sport? And then what do you think the future of the pro league or even, the independent teams out there are going to be now with the Olympics being back?
I definitely think that it does help. I think that it helps a lot, because then it allows for people to really get excited and really rally around a sport that I feel like is very underrepresented and really at times undervalued. Because just like, any other athlete, we're out there, busting our butts to be able to be in top physical shape to be able to play these games and make these amazing plays and make the basic plays and things like that. And so I definitely think that that's going to bring a lot of good attention towards softball. But I think that, I definitely think that with it being back in, it needs to be, I think the marketing behind it or the support behind it, needs to be pushed in the right direction to be able to open up maybe the eyes of people who don't know about professional softball, or to maybe open up the eyes of people to rally behind the sport and things like that. But ultimately, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm not a great idea, but I think it's a great opportunity, and definitely a great opportunity for those who are chosen to represent the United States to be able to, compete in the Olympics. And I think it's just a wonderful thing to get behind, to be able to create some buzz and really open up. If the ultimate goal is to bring more attention to the sport and make this professional sport something that people can actually do as a career, then I think that the marketing behind it needs to be for the players. It needs to be for support. It doesn't need to be about what we can do with this, how we can make this person highlight this person. No, we need to highlight the sport entirely and support everyone, who is still out here, even though they might not be representing the United States, but still support them, represent them, and represent this game that we're trying to create to be able to make a living from.
Mm-hmm. Now, Brianna, what are some of your goals in the softball world in the next 5 years or so? What, as a coach, as a player, the whole 9 yards?
My goals are to develop myself as a coach, because I believe that I have a natural ability just to be able to coach and to be able to, to really be able to express my knowledge of the game. And I would hope to maybe one day be able to cross over into into the collegiate area and be able to be a coach at a college. But I do definitely want that experience. Just, if it's for 1 year, to be able to have that experience and, to be able to use my knowledge as a former player to be able to show them, hey, this is, it's not all about what uniform you're wearing and all this. It's about, the 100% that you put into it. It's about, I feel like people don't, in this day and age, it's like I read recently somewhere where, more freshmen or more kids coming in are transferring just because they don't like a school or they don't, and it's like, I'm coming from an era where, when you pick a school, that's where you're going. That's where you're going to make your mark. That's where you're going to. And if it's hard, it's so what? Life isn't easy. Life's not always going to be fair. It's something that you got to figure out. So I hope that at the end of the day, if I am afforded the opportunity to be able to coach at the collegiate level, that I can, maybe change someone's mind or change a player's mind. I'm not starting. I'm not this. Well, what have you done to get to that point? Have you exhausted all opportunity? Because I myself was at that point. I was like, shoot, I was close in my freshman year at the end to quitting because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. My mom was like, you can come home, you can stay at home, USM, and we'll make it work. And then I realized, I was like, no, I haven't done everything that I needed to do. I haven't exhausted all of my resources and my opportunity to be able to make this happen. So that I'm hoping with that goal, I'm hoping that if I'm able to get to the collegiate level, then I can be able to be that type of coach.
Now, here's one of the newer questions kind of that we like to keep asking here, people, and that come on is, if there was somebody that you could recommend that me and Dan as the Going Yard podcast could reach out to for an interview, whether it be a coach or another player, who do you think would be a great guest to talk to our players, that listen, our coaches, moms, dads out there, and why would you pick them?
Well, I would, and this is not just because she's my family, but definitely Marissa Meyer. She is a wonderful athlete. I can say that from experience, of course, because we played on the same team. We went to the same college, but she can definitely bring to light for those people for those kids who have struggled with an injury, and maybe struggle, because there's definitely, when you're when you're hit with an injury, like whether it's a broken bone or a torn ACL or whatever it is, you know, it's hard to regain that mentality back, that go-getter mentality, or how do I get back to 100%? Like, I definitely think that she can bring that knowledge to your podcast. Just the, you know, if you have a dream that, you know, you want to be able to represent, you know, the United States, if there's something that you want to do, that there's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing that can stand in your way, regardless of what it is. And, you know, it's just, she's definitely a good person who can provide a lot of knowledge. She's an infielder, played both shortstop and second base. Hits for power, is a slapper, triple threat. So she's definitely a great candidate to speak.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to do a text introduction and get her on here, because I'm sure it sounds like she's good. She's a great player and great influence on especially young ladies that listen to this show. So that would be awesome.
Yes, she is. She is.
Great. Before we wind down with the last couple questions, is there any extra words of wisdom you can offer to our young listeners?
My words would be to, first and foremost, you know, and I don't know if this is the teacher in me, but, you know, definitely make sure that your education and your grades and everything like that is intact and it's right. Because you definitely don't want to be out here and you know, saying, oh, I want to be this and I want to be a professional softball player. I want to be this pro basketball, whatever. And then your grades are trash. Because I see that every single day. And also be accountable, and I say that because, you know, of course I'm still navigating through this big wide world, and it's not easy. And, you know, find you a mentor, find you somebody that you look up to, emulate yourself after them, because at the end of the day, you know, and I feel like we've all heard it or know it, that, you know, people are going to remember, you know, the things that you did, the way that you affected them and the way that you helped them and things like that. And, you know, you just want to leave behind something that people can remember you by. And, you know, definitely something positive, something that, you know, at the end of the day, they say, well, you know, Brianna Cherry, she influenced my daughter in a way that I can't even explain in words. She helped her to be able to do this, you know, just be a light in people's lives. And then my last thing is to be respectful. Definitely in my life, there's been plenty of times where a situation might not have gone the way it should be, or I felt like somebody was disrespecting me in a certain way and I wanted to act out or anything. But at the end of the day, you know, I always pay it forward to my parents and to my family for instilling the value of respect and the value of just being a good person. And so those are the things that I wanted to leave with the young ladies who might be listening.
It's so fantastic. I love the advice, and you know, one common thing that we kind of keep hearing from the women we interview was about, you know, leaving a legacy, impacting the game, leaving it better than when I got here. You know,
right.
It's so inspiring. You know, our baseball guys we talk to, the advice and things are a little different. The women seem definitely more driven to, you know, want to impact the game, make it better than when they left it, help grow this game, help give women a better opportunity when they get there than they had, which is fantastic. We have daughters that are 10, 11 years old. So, you know, hopefully in another decade, the progress and the grind and all the work that all of you women are currently doing and going through really, really makes an impact. And, you know, as dads, we sure hope that happens.
Right. And same here, because at the end of the day, it's not one thing. And I'm telling you, you can ask probably any player, any person who's played softball, and it doesn't even have to be at the pro level. It could go, you know, to the college level or even high school, because at the end of the day, it's with softball, you know, it seems, you know, almost seems limited to what you can do after. And so, you know, we try our best to be able to make a way for the ones behind us to have something, to have something tangible that they can do, or, because like I said before, I didn't even know what the MPF was. So, and that was, when I was a senior. And so at this point coming up, who knows how many people have come through to the MPF, and, from the people who have been in it to now, who have been able to open their eyes to the MPF when they had no idea what it was. So it's just a joy to be able to create that opportunity, or be a part of the creating of that opportunity, because, once you're done, and regardless of whether you play softball or baseball or basketball, whatever it is, once you're done, you're done. And you know it. You get to that point where you're just like, man, like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I might be done. And so you just want to look at the end of it, and you just want to, make sure that you are a part of something greater.
That's fantastic. Love it. Brianna, I can't thank you enough here. We got a couple questions here. Where can our listeners find out more about what you're doing? Whether, if it's a guest appearance at a clinic or a camp, or, the season schedule to come see a game, or if they can reach out to you with questions that they might have from hearing this, where can they reach you best, and get more information about it all from you?
I'm actually looking into starting up doing some clinics. So I haven't really secured anything just yet, but I am active on Facebook. Just search Brianna Cherry. I am active on Instagram as well. My Instagram handle is @BNCherries25. So BNCHERRIES25. So I just, that's my main page. I just post a lot of softball makeup stuff. Just any of my makeup girls out there, anything like that. But that's pretty much where I'm active. And yeah, I love talking to people. I get DMs all the time with girls asking questions and stuff, and I respond to all DMs. I'm not too proud to not answer anybody's or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I was where they were. And, I didn't have anybody to DM or ask questions. I had my mom, and she was like, I just play basketball, so I don't know. But, so, definitely, if they have questions, comments, concerns, whatever it is, I'm open to it. I love questions. I love to talk. So,
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on and talking to us. I'm sure a lot of girls and coaches and moms and dads are going to get a lot out of this. If you could end with this, what song do you choose as your walkout song every time you go to the plate, and why do you choose that song?
Well, most recently it was the "I Bet You Won't" by Mouse and Level, but I just want something like super high energy, like just super, me. And it's not even, I know people, pick walkout songs because they want to intimidate the pitcher and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I just like something like super high energy and super fun, because it kind of mellows me out a little bit. Like if I'm too serious, because a lot of times I can get myself to a point where I'm too focused, and then I'll focus myself into a slump, which sounds crazy, but it happens. And so, I just like something high energy to where I can kind of shake my shoulders a little bit, or I can bounce around a little bit, because that kind of relaxes me a little bit. Kind of calm down, Brianna. Just your first at bat, get it out, you'll be all right. So it's just something fun, something high energy, just something like that. Something that makes the crowd, makes the dugout kind of oh shoot, oh my gosh, something to get them hyped up a little bit. So, it's nothing to intimidate anybody. I feel like my approach does that on its own. But, nice. Just kind of get myself ready for that at bat.
Awesome. Great answer. Well, we enjoyed having you on. It was wonderful, and we'll make sure we're sharing this everywhere. Everyone listening, please share this with every softball player, coach, mom, dad that you know. Thank you, Brandon, so much. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Thank you. We wish you the best of luck, and look forward to hopefully talking to you again down the road when checking back in with everything that you got going on. Best of luck with the season coming up.
All righty. Thank you so much.
All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Take it easy, nigga, like a bees, and now I'm off the easy, need a breezy. who gon' pop the peas. She gon' fuck the cheesy for no reason. She just like my steezy. Now she want the deezy. Get a room. She gon' hit the breezy. Then gon' do her teasy. What it do?
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Brianna Cherry. As always, make sure you check us out on all things social media at Going Yard Podcast and on Twitter at Going Yard and the number 2. And don't forget about our website. That is goingyardpodcast.com, where you can find all of our episodes and all the links for our podcasts and also our shop. You can buy some merchandise that we talk about all the time and training products. And it's going to have everything on there. It's only getting better as the year goes.
Definitely keep following back in. Fantastic interview with Brianna. If you like this episode, make sure you check out all of our other ones. Go back through, subscribe to us. That way you always get the new ones. Then you can always go back and find the old ones too, because we got some really good ones from the past. So subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, and Google Play. Leave us a 5-star review if you would, so we can climb those podcast rankings.
All right, so that's a wrap for this softball edition of the Going Yard Podcast. So for Brianna Cherry and all of us here at the Going Yard Podcast, I'm Dan.
And I'm Tyler. See ya.
Later.